Welcome to the channel, guys, and today I want to show you how I turn this stylized character into a realistic metahuman using free assets on the marketplace and of course Unreal Engine 5. So let's get started. Alright, first things first, before we even open up Unreal Engine, we're going to want to download a couple things off of the marketplace. First we need a MetaHuman plugin and of course the stylized character that we're going to use. So let's head on over to unrealengine.com, and if it doesn't go to the marketplace right away, you come up here to marketplace and click browse, and that'll take you to the marketplace homepage here. Once you're here, let's type in MetaHuman Plugin, and it is this guy here. You're going to want to download this. It's completely free. This is the new Mesh to MetaHuman is part of this plugin that they just launched. So that's what we're going to do. Is we're basically going to take a mesh from an existing character, and it's going to import it into MetaHuman and try to sculpt the facial features similar to that mesh. So first you're going to need that. We're not going to open it quite yet. And then the next part is we're going to search stylized, if I could spell here, Stylized Character Kit, I believe. And it is going to be this guy here. It's by Rocket Arts. This one is completely free in the marketplace, at least currently. That may change at some point, I'm not sure. But free for now. It's a pretty cool little kit that this guy's put together. A stylized kit for this guy, some clothes and hair and different accessories. So make sure you download that. Of course, I already have it downloaded. All right, once you have downloaded those two assets, the plugin and the character, let's head on over to the Epic Games launcher and let's go to library. I have currently 5.0.2, that's the current version of Unreal Engine. Let's go ahead and launch that and get started. Typically when you launch that, a lot of times it'll open up your previous project. So let's go ahead and start a new one. File and new project. And you're usually presented with this here. Let's go ahead and choose the third-person template. I like to use that one just because it's if I ever need reference for scale of the model of the character, I can use that. And also you can play your game if you want to in your map. So let's choose third person, and I'm going to go ahead and check on ray tracing because for our final project, we're probably going to use path tracing to render it out. If you don't have an RTX card, I'm sorry, but let's try to go ahead and enable that for now. And let's give it a name. We're going to call it Style Guy Meta, and create new. Another reason I like to enable ray tracing there from the beginning is later on, if you try to enable ray tracing and you have a lot going on, it'll take forever for the shaders to compile. So I like to do it from the beginning in case you plan on even using it. Even if you use Lumen later on, it's not a big deal. All right, so once you get it open, you're presented with the example map here. As you can see, we're going to go ahead and create a new blank level. It's just a lot easier to get started. So file and new level. And I like to just choose the basic one because at least it gives you a few of the lighting things already pre in it, and you can just modify it from there. So let's create a new one. I'm going to go ahead and file, and we're going to go ahead and save the level right away. So save this. We're just going to call it Style Guy. All right. Next step is we are going to want to go ahead and enable the MetaHuman plugin now, so we don't have to do it later. So go up to Setting and Plugins there. And in here, just search MetaHuman. And you can see it's an experiments plugin, of course, just like everything else pretty much. Let's go ahead and enable that, and it is going to ask you to restart the engine. It's going to confirm that you want to use this experimental plugin. So click yes, and it's going to ask you to restart. So let's restart. All right, so we are back in the Epic Games launcher. Let's go past our projects down to our vault. This is where all of our assets and little plugins and things are going to be. And you can type in here and search for it. We'll just search style. No, that's probably stylized. There we go, stylized. And it is this guy here. Let's just click on it, make sure it's the right one. And as long as you've downloaded, you will have the Add to Project button here. So let's click Add to Project, find our project, which is called Style Guy Meta, and Add to Project. As most of you know, when you get something off the marketplace, it doesn't immediately download it. So the first time you do it, it's going to download it first and save it to your local drive. And then it's going to take that and transfer it into your project. So now that we are in our project here, let's Control Space again. we make sure we have a characters section here. And we're actually going to click on SCK Casual here. That is the name of this guy here. Another quick little tip, I like to always click on the filter here. I know I'm looking for a skeletal mesh because that's what we're going to be looking for. You can also use a static mesh too for this type of conversion, but I know this one is a skeletal mesh. This is great. This is a pretty good project because it does have all the pieces separated here. You can see there's the glasses and hair. There's the head, the body, the legs, and arms. And then, of course, there's complete ones put together. But what's nice about this one is we have just the head because that's all we need at this moment. So now to keep things relatively simple and clean, I like to just go ahead and create the rest of the assets in the same folder as this in case I'm working on multiple characters and I want to convert multiple ones in the same project. So let's go to Add. And because we've already installed that plugin and activated it, you click here on MetaHuman, and then you're going to do MetaHuman Identity. That's going to create a new one here. Let's go ahead and name that Style Guy. And let's double click that. All right, and what it's going to do is during this period, you will probably get a login window if you haven't already logged in. So go ahead and enter in your Epic Games login account because this is not locally based when it does this. This uses their servers to convert the mesh and do all the hard lifting for you. So go ahead and log into your Epic Games account now. Once you have logged in, you should get a new window. I went ahead and snapped it into the same window here. This is for the actual mesh to MetaHuman conversion. So what we're going to do is you go up top here to components from mesh. I'm pretty sure, let's check it here. We'll do control space again. It is called mesh _h or AA1. So let's go into here, mesh _h. There we go. So you're going to click on that, and what that's going to do is it's going to add it into here. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is click on neutral pose here. And there's a few things I like to do that's been some better results for me to letting the system capture the facial features of the actual characters when you're importing them in like this. The first thing I like to do is come up here, and I'm going to change my field of view to 25. I'm going to make it a little bit of a zoomed in, flatter look that typically helps with the software when it's trying to track the facial points. Sometimes you can go into unlit mode also. That can help. We're going to give it a shot on this one and see how it goes. So next what I'll do is I'm going to try to center just the head component on the screen here. Just a reminder, when you right click and you move around just like you do in the editor, if you use your scroll wheel, that'll help slow down the process of what you're moving. So scrolling up speeds it up, scrolling down will slow it down for you. So what I'm going to do is keep an eye here at the top AB section. That's kind of your center point. I kind of want to try to keep him as centered as possible. Once you got him fairly well centered, what we're going to do is click on Promote Frame up here. You can also come down here and click the plus button. But let's click the Promote Frame, and you need to be selected on neutral pose, I believe, for this to work. So once you do that, you're going to notice down here it's going to say frame 0. So what we're going to do is right click on there, and we're going to go to auto tracking on. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to send it out to the servers there a little bit, and it's going to take a look at this. It's going to figure out the facial features for us and track it. So there you go. A pretty decent job actually looking from here. So it looks like it did a good job with the lighting on. You could have had it on and might have done all right, but for this one it looks like it did pretty well with unlit. Some models don't work very well with unlit. Now that the software is calculated and it's done a pretty good job of finding the eyes, this part here, your face and your mouth features, that's pretty much all we need. You can go in and manually add these, but if you do the auto tracking, it is tremendously easier. So now that it's done the auto tracking, what we're going to do is we're going to check it out a little bit closer and make sure that all of the points are lined up pretty well, because you want to fine tune it as best as you can. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to come down here on the frame 0 again. We're going to right click again, and we're going to lock the camera. What this is going to do is it's going to allow us to kind of move around and pan inside this picture now, and without moving any of the points and affecting what we're looking at. So scroll wheel was going to let you scroll in and zoom in on it, so we can kind of take a closer look at it. Right mouse button helps us kind of pan around, and then we're going to be able to click on different components. A quick little note is if you click on the spline itself, you can actually drag the entire spline piece like that around. Otherwise, if you click on just the circle, you can move just the circle points. And you can, of course, undo. So let's take a look. It looks like it did a fairly good job of traveling along the eye line there. If you ever notice that it seems like it's poking over into the mesh area of it that you don't want, you're going to want to adjust that, because a lot of that stuff is going to come across into the actual MetaHuman if you're not careful. So I'm just going to move just a couple pieces here. The mouth looks pretty decent. Keep in mind there's two lines right here that are right on top of each other, really next to each other. That's for, of course, the bottom lip and the upper lip. And then this is the outer rims of the lips here. And really it looks pretty good for the most part. So the next step here is what we're going to do is choose our body. You have to choose a body now, but you can always change it later once you're into the MetaHuman. So you're not stuck with what you choose at this point. So if you choose body, you have your height adjustment here. Basically there's 3 heights, short, average, and tall. And then of course you have your body weights here. The male side is on the left and the female side is on the right. You have skinny, fit or average or whatever you want to call it, and overweight or obese. So this guy here, I think we're going to choose the fit male. And let's give him a tall character. So once you've chosen that, now what we're going to do is come up here up top to MetaHuman Identity Solve. Let's click that. You may not see it's a little bit here off the screen, but what that's going to do is it's going to run a little resolve on it and figure out where those points are going. Once you've done that, now we're going to click on Mesh to MetaHuman. And now at this point, it is actually going to reach out to the servers again, and it's going to begin converting that and taking care of all the legwork in the background on their servers, and it's going to send it up to the cloud. So depending, of course, on your internet and, of course, Epic Games' servers and how overloaded they are, it may take a little while for this to happen. But once it's finished, you're going to get this message here. It says your MetaHuman is now available in the Creator and Bridge in the MetaHuman section. So go ahead and click OK, and what we're going to do is we're going to jump over into our browser and open up the MetaHuman Creator. All right, so in your browser, you're going to want to type in metahuman.unrealengine.com, and that'll take you to the MetaHuman Creator software, which is all, of course, web-based because it's on their servers. Once you do that, you might need to log into your Epic Games account. I'm already logged in. So there is a new version, of course, as part of the plugin. You'll see it here. It says launch the latest version of MetaHuman Creator for Unreal Engine 5. Let's just go ahead and do that. Now, depending on the load of their servers and everything that's going on, this may take a little bit of time. Just give it a little bit of time, let it log in and get there. If you see an error that says it can't, just keep refreshing until it does get in. Okay, so the MetaHuman Creator has finally launched, and you're going to see right away, of course, it's going to select your latest project here that you just uploaded. We called it Style Guy here. I do have another one earlier from setting up the project, but this is the one we just did here. And if you can look here, you can already tell it's looking pretty close to our stylized character, and not too bad. You can kind of take a look quickly, just make sure it's the right one. Let's go ahead and select Edit Selected. Sometimes it's a good idea to duplicate it right away in case you feel like you might make changes later or make mistakes. But let's just go ahead and click Edit Selected. So that's going to bring us into the actual editor. So there's a few things that I usually like to do when I first get started doing MetaHumans. The first things first is skin and hair. A lot of times, if you don't add skin and hair, things look really weird and alien-like, and it can kind of affect how you morph a lot of the targets. So let's go into skin here. And once you're in here, you need to assign a skin, and you're going to select that. Let's just click anywhere here, and then we're going to slowly adjust it from there. This is obviously the stylized character is an African American, so we're just going to kind of choose a similar color, perhaps. You can always adjust that however you like. Middle mouse button lets you kind of pan and move them up and down, so I usually like to center up the project a little bit here. Otherwise, you can press 1, will give you the facial center point. If you're doing big hair, that's kind of what moves it down, but I know we're not going to have big tall hair on this guy. So the next part here is This guy, I guess we can go ahead, let's click on head and let's do the hair because we're pretty certain we know which hair we're going to be choosing for this character. Now we're going to go back into custom mesh. And at this point here, it's going to give you several points on the body that what we can do is we can blend between MetaHuman's kind of standardized features and our imported mesh. So sometimes, depending on how crazy your mesh is that you imported, the features can be a little out of whack and they kind of break certain things just because it's not, the MetaHumans aren't meant to be pushed quite that far on some of the features, especially the eyeballs and the lips. This one's pretty decent. It still has a very stylized, the same kind of jawline, the nose and stuff. So let's go in. Basically, you're going to select different parts of the body here on the face, and there's a slider down here. It's called region of influence. So if it's set at a 1, that means the mesh that you imported is influencing it 100%. As you take that down, it'll slowly change to a more standardized version. Let's pick something a little more noticeable here. So the nose, it's a very prominent, larger nose there, but as we take this down, it's going to kind of give it a more average nose. We know our stylized character has that, and we kind of want to create that stylized look to it. Another area, like I said, that typically breaks a lot, it will be the lips, the outer mouth part here, and the lips. We kind of want this. We're going to just, this one's a really good one, actually. A lot of times I bring the lips down either to 0, maybe 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, only because a lot of times when you add facial smiles and anger and stuff like that to it, it'll break the lips really quick. The ears are good. You can adjust the ears and a lot of the facial tones. I think really it looks, this one came in pretty well. And the craziest part is it doesn't always come in the same way. It just kind of depends on that initial import and selection of points when it's scanning the photo. So once you've kind of chosen all the different variations and amount of influence that you want from your imported mesh, it really just kind of comes up to your own creativity and how you want to influence the character. You'll have the custom mesh area that is essentially all the blend points and everything. Your blend, you can do that if you choose to. We don't really want to do a blending because we want it to simulate the imported mesh. Skin is going to be skin colors and freckles, accents if you want to redden cheeks or ears and stuff like that. The freckle section is typically a good way to add just a little bit of detail, even if it's not heavy freckles. It's some decent skin detail. He actually looks like he's got some going on here anyways. And then under skin, you can always drag this texture slider over, and that's really going to shift a lot. And it's very sensitive. Sometimes you can actually start using the arrows here on the side to just get minute little changes there that you wouldn't see just by dragging it. And really, the texture changes the way the model looks a lot. It's actually a heavy influence. You don't really see it up front. And of course, you just want to crank it and get the old man look or the young guy look. But we're just going to let's find a nice little spot where it's not too young, not too old, not too crazy of facial features or skin coloring, because a lot of them have kind of a colored tint to them. They'll have a yellowish kind of look or reddish and, just skincare features. Contrast is another thing. If you want to adjust that and give it kind of a heavier, darker contrast, it almost affects the saturation a little too much. And of course, roughness would be like, okay, you want them to kind of look a little greasy, kind of oily skin, or do you want it to be dry skin, makeup or of something of that sort? Would be a lot of heavy influence. Next, of course, is eyes. You got your preset colors that you can pretty much choose from. Go in and do your iris style and color if you want to adjust even those colors further. I think for a stylized character, I like to take the iris size and just crank it to extreme. It really doesn't go all that far, so it's pretty hard. You can't really do anime or cartoony styled eyes because the eyes themselves don't scale up in size very well. So I'll just increase the iris just because I like that bigger look. Saturation, you can add some darkness, whatever you want. And then this area here you can use to adjust the brightness of the white areas of the eye. Teeth, that kind of is all up to you. The MetaHuman teeth they're decent, but they're not that great. So do as you please there. Makeup, we're not going to put any makeup on this guy, although sometimes if you want to do like a little bit of a foundation just to smooth out some skin qualities, give it more like a style, like a glamour kind of look to it, you can easily do that. We've already done the head hair. Of course, you can add details to that if you want to, like salt and pepper, give it gray, you can dye the color, you can give them highlights, and you give them a fade, whatever you want to do there. Eyebrows, we're just going to leave as is, I believe. You know, I think our stylized character had something a little bit thicker. Let's see if we can get him kind of a... Let's choose that one. That's pretty decent. You can do your eyelashes, your mustache, your beard. We know that this guy has kind of like a very thin cut beard mustache. So let's go ahead and add that in. I believe I chose this one here. Yeah, that one there is good. And then what we did is we did very light mustache on the top too. Just enough to kind of fade it in. Was it this guy? Yeah, either one of those would probably work. I don't think nope. This one. This is the one here. Yep. That's a good look. That really matches kind of like the look of the stylized character, I believe. Yeah, I like the thinner one there. So we're going to do the thinner one. And of course, in MetaHuman Creator, you've got all these adjustments here. If you want to check out, you know, have them move and kind of see what they do. Like I said, a lot of times you want to make sure the smiles and open mouths and stuff like that doesn't break some of the features, because when you stretch those things a little too far from the mesh import, it can cause them to just be wonky and things to go inside out of each other. Next part, like I said, we can go ahead and change up the proportions of the body, which depending on what you're going to do with the model, you may not even use the body. You might just actually use the head. So we got him at tall, fit body. A lot of times what we'll do, let's press number 2. You can also come up here and click on the camera and change that. But number 2 gives you the full body feature there. A lot of times on the metahumans, the heads seem to be a little big. So a lot of times I'll take that down a little bit, probably about negative 0.3. And then that just seems to be a more, I don't know, normal size for them, but it's up to you. If you're only going to use just the head, a lot of times it's easier to not include any tops or bottoms. You can always select those, which there are some new features in the latest release for some of the clothing. But we're going to go ahead and just leave them with that. You can't remove shoes, at least not yet. We're going to go ahead and leave that. And once you're done, you can back out of the MetaHuman section. And now it's time to import it back into Unreal Engine. All right, let's jump back into Unreal Engine here. This is where we left off here when we were sending over the stylized character to the mesh to MetaHuman. Let's jump back to our level here. And next thing we're going to want to do is come up here to the add section here, and we're going to open up Quixel Bridge. And in our Quixel Bridge, this is how you get the metahumans into Unreal Engine from the online Meta Creator. So on Quixel Bridge here, make sure you're logged in, of course. If you're not, come up here and log into your account. Come on down to MetaHumans, and there's going to be 2 sections. There is a preset section and your metahumans, or my metahumans. And you are going to see him right here. That is going to be the first one. So next, what you need to do is make sure you choose highest quality here, and you're going to click download. This takes a while. They are a few gigabytes a piece. So I actually already have mine here. This is the guy we originally did. And you can see actually just by the preview picture, there is a little bit of a difference. It looks like I chose a different skin color, a little bit smoothness and stuff. So I'm going to click this guy. He is already downloaded. So when it has a checkbox there, that means it's already downloaded to your local drive. And it's much easier to just add it into a project because it's just moving files amongst your hard drive. So now that we have that, let's click add. And what that's going to do is that's going to pull up a little window here. It's going to be transferring over a few things and make sure you've got all the files for it. And we will be right back, and we'll get back into it. Another thing, once you import the MetaHuman, it's probably going to ask you to enable a few different plugins, some things that are missing. Make sure you enable those and restart your engine. Let's open up our map now. And now let's go back to our content browser. And you're going to see here there's this section called MetaHumans, because if you add multiple ones, they're all going to be in this primary folder here. There's a common folder which relates to a bunch of common pieces between the metahumans, and of course there's our meta style, which the one that we created is called Style Guy. This is one I did a little bit earlier. Once you're in here, the metahumans are a blueprint system. So we're going to take this blueprint and we're going to drag and drop it into our scene here. Usually the first time you drag and drop in, it might take a little bit of time just doing compiling some shaders. I'm going to set this guy to 0, center him up. And here we go. This is our metahuman with kind of a stylized facial feature here. You can actually see sometimes I've noticed that we get a little bit of weirdness going on from the imports. There seems to be these crazy seams in the bodies like that with just the skin body. But we know that we're basically, what we want to do is we're going to use the clothes from our original stylized character, and we're going to put it on the metahuman so we can kind of get that mixed blend of stylized and realistic. So we're going to do it really simple. And my original pictures, this is all I did for it. However, we might do a part 2 to kind of show you how we can take the stylized character body and actually replace the head and place the head onto the stylized character and be able to animate the whole body and everything. For the shots that you've seen that I've posted, those were just kind of faked, okay? What we did, let's go into our content browser here. We're going to go to our folder with our stylized character. Let's turn on skeletal mesh because we know we just want parts of the body. And here is our jacket that we chose. I like the jacket a lot. It's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and center that guy up in the world. Now the proportions of our stylized character, and let me go ahead and actually drop him in. You can take a look here. The proportions of our stylized character are a little different than our metahuman. So we can do one of two things. We can either kind of shrink down the stylized character to match so that we kind of know how to adjust the pieces of clothing, or you can increase your metahuman. Metahumans are pretty accurate. I assume this stylized guy is probably not that accurate in size. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring we're going to take the stylized character and we're going to bring him down. Let's go ahead and lock that here. We're going to go ahead and scale it down. Let's take it to 0.9. That's a little too much, so 0.93. Pretty close, 0.9, 0.94. That looks pretty decent. We need to keep an eye on the shoulders more than the head. You know, let's take it back down to 0.93. Let's do that. Okay, so now we know we're going to take the pieces of clothing that we want to add on our metahuman, and we're going to scale them by 0.93 also. So 0.93, let's center that back up. And so we're going to get a pretty close result. I'm going to slide this guy over here out of the way. This is going to be pretty close. Like I said, the proportion's a little off. So let's go ahead. Let's turn off snapping here. And let's move our clothing forward a little bit. And we're just going to kind of want to keep an eye on where things begin to clip a little bit. The jacket's a little tall. Let's bring it down. The other guy's got some pretty broad shoulders, the stylized guy. This guy, not quite so much. So let's bring it down. I'm going to bring it forward a little bit so it covers a little more of his arms here. Like I said, the original photos were kind of a cheat because you only see this upper portion here. You don't see that the arms aren't actually connected to the clothing piece at all. But I'm pretty sure what we'll do is we'll do a part 2 and I'll show you how to actually replace the clothing pieces, the actual skeletal mesh. We're going to replace that and put the metahuman head on that so that you can fully rig the entire body from the original character rig, plus use the metahuman facial rig, which is amazing. So really that looks pretty good. There might be a little clipping here in the rear, a little bit there. I don't think you're going to see most of that. We could maybe move this back just a little bit. We can start to see a little more of the arms, unfortunately. There's not a ton we can do, like I said, unless we replace the entire part. Let's bring this forward. I think that looks pretty good. So as you can see, this is pretty simple. We were able to take this cool kind of stylized character, which is definitely a big thing nowadays, and take that mesh, import it over to MetaHumans, and create a fairly realistic character using those kind of stylized facial features and bone structure. It's really, really cool. I've seen some really awesome videos out there of some people really pushing the limits. I haven't had the best results pushing it too far. It seems like a lot of stuff just kind of breaks and starts to overlap. But this is a really cool example and kind of a neat idea, something that you could do to create a semi-stylized and semi-hyper-realistic kind of effect. All right, so I think that's pretty much it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope this helped you kind of figure out a little bit how to use the new Mesh to MetaHuman plugins, which is really amazing. It allows us to actually open up the MetaHuman features like the facial rig and the skin texturing and all that kind of stuff, and be able to place it on some more custom characters and not just have to choose from theirs, and only be able to do a little bit of blending and a little bit of modifications. Of course, there's still limited hairstyles and clothing. But like I said, we'll do a part 2 and maybe show you how to take the MetaHuman head and put it onto a different body. It really works well that way. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. I'd like to be able to do a few more guides like this, and we'll probably do a part 2 of this one. I've been working on Unreal for about 9 months now, and I'm really into it. I'm really liking it, and I hope you guys enjoy this, and we can work on some other projects together. I've got lots of questions from people on how to do certain things that I've done and created. So again, I hope you enjoy, and peace out.